Dragon's Awakening. The Duke's son is changing the plot. Chapter 12, end of the first round. The Cradle of the Vice family was no ordinary academy. It was a place of legacy. Children were sent there not just to learn, but to survive, to prove themselves, and to shine under the harshest gaze imaginable. It was where talent was tested and where the weight of names and bloodlines pressed down upon young shoulders like invisible chains. But more than that, the Cradle was home to instructors who were far more than teachers. They were veterans, warriors, and scholars who had touched the edges of greatness in their lifetimes. Some had reached the peaks of their art, while others had stopped short, carrying regrets of unfinished techniques, broken dreams, or lost comrades. Now these veterans sought something different. They wanted their techniques, their struggles, their very essence to live on in the hands of a new generation. To take disciples was to carve their legacy into time itself. Some even passed down their unfinished works, hoping a younger flame might complete what their own weary hands could not. And so, in the Cradle, every battle was more than a contest between children. Every match was a chance to catch an instructor's eye. To be chosen as a disciple was not just honor, it was protection, influence, and survival. The moment a child inherited a technique, they inherited the promise that their life would not be wasted. No instructor would allow their disciple to die before fulfilling the art entrusted to them. That was why the Cradle was a battlefield of pride and ambition. Everyone wanted to shine. Everyone wanted recognition. And above them all stood Damien Vance. The name itself carried weight. The prodigy among prodigies. The legend every child wished to stand before, begging to be taken as a disciple. But Damien was not the type to simply pick anyone. His standards were beyond imagination. For most, the dream of being chosen by him was nothing more than a cruel illusion. So the children turned their eyes to the other instructors, each one formidable in their own right. Raven knew this better than anyone. Unlike the others, he knew the entire plot of this world. He knew which names would rise, which ones would fall, and where the currents of fate would try to drag everyone. And so, unlike the original story, he wasn't here just to shine for himself. He wanted his teammates, Alex, Clara, Jake, to shine as well. They were bastards of the Vase family, children without backing or power. In the original tale, they would have been chewed up and discarded by the cruel hierarchy of the Cradle. But Raven refused to let that happen. If they could secure recognition now, if they could stand beneath the wings of powerful mentors, their lives would be untouchable. He would give them that. The first round of battles had raged on. Again and again, his teammates stepped into the arena. Alex's strength, Clara's cunning, Jake's composure. They carved out victories with sweat and bruises. And while they fought, Raven stayed back, quiet, his ears tuned not to the clash of steel, but to the murmurs of the instructors. He wanted to know who was watching, who was impressed, and who would move first. Some distance away, a group of instructors stood in conversation, their eyes lingering on one figure in particular. "That boy, Alex," one murmured, tapping his boot against the ground. "He has a special physique." "Of course he does," another scoffed. "How else could a bastard child carry such strength?" The words dripped with contempt, but there was no denying the truth of it. A lady instructor folded her arms, her voice steady and sharp. "I was thinking of taking him in. He seems perfect for completing my titanium body arts." The man bristled. "I never said I didn't want him." But his words were cut short. An old gravelly voice pierced through the air, carrying a weight that silenced them all. "Could you all let me have him?" The instructors turned, faces stiffening. The speaker was old, his white beard flowing like snow, his eyes dim yet sharp as blades dulled only by time. The very air shifted when he spoke, authority carved into every syllable. It was Hamilton, one of the last of the old patriarch's generation. A man who should have long since been buried by age, yet still stood tall, still radiated strength that dwarfed the younger instructors. "Of course, Sir Hamilton," the woman said quickly, her smile polite but hollow. Hamilton didn't care. He had spoken, and that was enough. Alex would be his. Raven's lips curved as he listened, a strange gleam flickering in his eyes. Hamilton? Of all people, that was the best possible mentor Alex could ever hope for. In the original story, Alex had no such fortune, but here, now, under Raven's interference, fate itself was being rewritten. Raven's gaze shifted to his teammate, who was wiping sweat from his brow, stumbling back from another victory. How many plot points will this give me? He thought, his grin turning sly. 100? 200? Maybe 300? He could practically feel wealth and fortune trickling into his future. Alex froze when he noticed Raven staring at him with that unsettling smile. His eyes widened, his steps faltered. What? What? Raven tilted his head, smiling too sweetly. Why are you looking at me like that? Alex stammered, arms half raised in defense. Like what? Like I'm some kind of tasty meat? Raven chuckled, throwing an arm around Alex's shoulders. No, no, you're not meat, Alex. His grin widened, wicked and warm all at once. You're my cash cow, cough, my precious teammate. Alex's eyes narrowed suspiciously. You said something weird just now. Let's go cheer for Clara. Raven cut him off before the thick-headed boy could pry further. Jake trailed along silently, watching the exchange with wary eyes, as if he already knew Alex had narrowly escaped becoming part of some scheme far beyond his comprehension. The matches continued, and with each victory, Raven's grin grew. He listened to the instructor's whispers, their doubts, their cautious curiosity about him. Some wondered if the rumors of the Duke's son were exaggerated. Others suspected he was hiding his strength. But Raven wasn't concerned. He knew his time was coming. Soon, he would step into the light. Soon, he would prove himself. And once he was famous, no one would dare look down on him. That was what he wanted most. Fame. The shield against scorn. The sword against humiliation. Too many protagonists had suffered because they were underestimated. Raven refused to be one of them. Eventually, the first round came to its end. Instructor Gale stepped forward, his voice echoing across the training ground. The first round of the matches has been concluded. Murmurs rose instantly among the children, buzzing like restless insects. Everyone knew what came next. For the second round, Gale continued, all teams that remain undefeated will now send one representative forward. The right of challenge. Unlike the first round, where teamwork decided survival, the second round demanded something different. One champion per team, fighting to carve their team's name into the top ranks. All eyes turned slowly to Raven's group. Is he finally going to fight? Has he just been saving his strength? What if he doesn't step forward? Maybe he's nothing but hot air. If he hides now, they won't even make top 3. The whispers spread like wildfire. Even the instructors leaned forward, curious. Damian Vance himself watched with cool, sharp eyes, and Raven felt it all, the gazes, the weight, the anticipation. He stretched, yawning lazily before stepping forward. I suppose it's time I get some action. Behind him, Clara's voice rang out. Show them what you're made of, Raven. He smirked, about to toss a clever line over his shoulder, but Clara added, a beautiful girl like me is rooting for you. Raven stumbled mid-step, choking on his own words. Behind him, Alex blinked. You're beautiful? Before he could finish, Jake's hand clamped over his mouth in sheer panic. His eyes screamed, shut up if you want to live. Alex frowned, muffled, until he noticed Clara's head turning slowly toward him, her smile sharp and radiant as a blade. Did you say something, Alex? She asked sweetly, her tone far more dangerous than any opponent in the ring. Cold sweat trickled down Alex's spine. With Jake's hand still pressing hard over his lips, he shook his head wildly, silently thanking fate and Jake for saving him from certain doom. Because even the thickest head in the cradle knew one thing now. Never question a girl's beauty. And so, Raven reached the front. The whispers hushed, the air grew heavy, and the rite of challenge began. The shadows he had lingered in until now would no longer suffice. It was his turn, his stage, his moment to shine. The first round had ended. But for Raven and for fate itself, the real battle was only just beginning.